loved my year at Oxford, but if I could go back and whisper in my own ear before day one of the MBA, I'd have a lot to say. Whether you're applying, admitted, or just curious about what it's really like, this is Real Talk. In this video, I'm sharing 10 things I wish I knew before starting the Oxford MBA. Hi, I'm Caitlin Andersen, graduate admissions consultant and Oxford MBA who has helped hundreds of students win interviews and offers to all the top business schools in the world, including Harvard, Stanford, Oxford, MIT, and Yale, and win over $1 million in scholarships. Number one, grades don't really matter. I wasted so much energy stressing about exams, especially in my first term Michaelmas. I thought that every mark would affect my future, and spoiler alert, they didn't. What actually mattered? Relationships, insight, growth, and I wish I had known that sooner. It would have saved a lot of sleepless nights. Number two, don't overcommit in week 0. This is the week right before the full term starts, and it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. There are events, clubs, social invites. It just feels nonstop, and I wish I had been a bit more selective during that time. I would say to take up those activities that really excite you, but just know that you're going to have time throughout the term to try out a lot of things. Number 3 is buy your sub-Fusc early. The sub-Fusc are those Harry Potter robes that you need for matriculation, your exams, and graduation. And I didn't immediately go buy mine. My flatmate had gone out and she got hers very smartly. And then she told me, oh, it seemed like there were only 1 or 2 of this certain longer style left. You may want to go get yours. So then I ran out, grabbed mine, and then I noticed over several weeks that some of my MBA classmates were having trouble finding longer robes. Getting those things out of the way when you're not in term and scrambling on other areas is a good idea. Number 4 is pick your electives based on passion and professor. In your Hillary and Trinity terms, you will have the option to start adding electives. So that's when the MBA gets really fun. Don't just go for what sounds impressive and might be obvious because all of your classmates are talking about it. I would do your research and find electives that actually interest you and learn who is going to be teaching those courses. One of my favorite electives was entrepreneurial finance, and I loved the way the professor brought in this really practical component to it. He had us conduct an investor side analysis on a startup, and he brought the founder into our class to talk about his company, which was a medical device company. He had invented this technology that allowed doctors to more quickly assess the damage that's done when a patient suffers a stroke. Our final project for entrepreneurial finance was to write an individual paper on whether or not we recommend an investment in this company. And I am not a finance person, so I know that the reason why I achieved a distinction on that individual paper was because of how engaged I was in that elective. The professor set it up in such a great way that I showed up eager to learn every day. Another elective that I loved was called Leadership Perspectives from the Humanities. And in one of our classes, the professor placed professional opera singers around our class and then asked for a volunteer to come down to the front of the class and lead these professional singers through a piece of music. Now, the point he was trying to make was, how do you lead people who are experts in something that you are not an expert in? And the answer was, you ask them, what do you need from me to be able to do your job better? And that was a lesson that stayed with me well beyond Oxford. Number 5, your college matters more than you think. So after you are accepted to the Said Business School and you become a student, you also need to apply to become a member of one of Oxford's colleges. Now, I got lucky in this process because I had a family friend who she was getting her PhD at Oxford and knew all of the colleges very well. So she made some great recommendations. Even still, I had no idea how much my college would matter until I actually got to Oxford. I was part of Merton College, which was one of the oldest colleges at Oxford. It was actually celebrating its 750th year anniversary while I was there. And it was this beautiful space away from the business school where I could retreat. Now, I'm an introvert, and so that was very important for me to feel like I had a space that I belonged to where I could kind of regenerate my energy. And it made a huge difference to my mental well-being. You handle your accommodations through the college. You have formal dinners there. You can receive research grants from your college. You have a library within your college that only you as a member can access and study in. You also have a common room, which has amenities like nice places to sit and socialize. Ours had a pool table and a ping pong table. So when you need to pick a college, I would encourage you to reach out to current Oxford students and alumni and ask them about their colleges. And you will start to get an idea of which colleges align more with what's important to you. For example, maybe you really care about the location of the college and the kind of accommodations. Where are those accommodations for graduate students? Because a lot of times you don't stay in the actual college itself if you're going to be a graduate student. You get accommodations outside. And now I loved where I was living. I was in this old carriage house with 5 other flatmates, and it was perfect. I got to walk across the Oxford campus. It was a 20-minute walk, but I loved the exercise and being out and seeing the beautiful campus of Oxford. But maybe you would like to be able to wake up and roll out of bed and go to your classes, and so you wouldn't want to be at a college that has graduate accommodations so far away. Other factors that could be important to you would be the student diversity. Maybe that college admits a ton of MBA students and you wanted to get more exposure to other Oxford students outside of the business school, so that could be a factor. You could also think about the history of the college. Maybe that's interesting to you and you want to be associated with a college that has an extensive and rich history. You could also think about the endowments, because that will show you what is available to you if you're looking to get some grants. And you also can think about the architectural beauty. So there are several things to consider, and when you start having those conversations with current students and alumni, ask them about all these things and you'll see what might be the best choice for you. Personally, I really wanted Merton College because they only admitted like 4, 5, 6 MBAs, where some of the other colleges admitted like 20, 30. And I wanted to be surrounded by a lot of different kinds of people studying different things. So in my house where I was living, we had somebody studying neuroscience, mathematics, history, philosophy. And so it was a really interesting mix, always kept things very exciting. Number 6 is the UK study culture is a shock. I come from the United States, where our academic system tends to be more guided in nature. In the UK, it's very self-directed. Now, that was a very steep learning curve for me in the beginning. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I really struggled in analytics and finance. And so I wish I had known earlier that there was such a big difference between how I was used to learning and how I would be expected to learn now at Oxford. Number 7 is protect your social battery, especially if you're an introvert like I am. I didn't realize how draining it would be to constantly be around people in classes, doing group work, and at social events. So I had to find ways to recharge my battery. For example, I would duck into these old churches and just sit there in silence for 10 minutes. Or I would walk through Merton College's gardens. So if you are an introvert, then I would tell you to make sure that you carve out space to recharge. Number 8 is to tap into the wider university while you're there. This may seem obvious, but I felt like I didn't do it enough. There were so many alumni talks, public lectures, and cross-departmental events that I think were gold that I really wish I had attended. You're surrounded by some of the brightest people on the earth, so don't stay in your MBA bubble. I did get to attend a debate at the Oxford Union, which was such a cool experience. And I joined the Oxford University Dance Sport Club, where I got to compete in ballroom and Latin dancing all across England with my team. And that was fun because I was connected to undergraduate and graduate Oxford students outside of the business school. So I recommend learning everything you can about the different schools and student activities that are available, because you might just find one that is really interesting to you and that you would love to join. Number 9 is your classmates are the real treasure. My Oxford MBA class was 94% international. So a huge part of the value that I got out of my MBA was getting exposed to people who grew up in completely different parts of the world. On a daily basis, I was interacting with people from China, India, Japan, Thailand, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, and the list goes on. Some of my closest friends from the MBA are from completely different parts of the world, and I met them through group projects, pub dinners, formal dinners. The best part of the MBA is the global network, and that lasts way beyond graduation. Number 10 is you're stronger than you think you are. I almost left Oxford after the first term. I was exhausted, I was overwhelmed, and I was convinced I did not belong. But I stayed, I chose electives that I loved, I earned distinctions, and I proved to myself that I could rise to the challenge. When you feel like you're at your limit, you're usually only halfway there. That was a lesson I learned at Oxford, and I relearned it throughout my dance career. I'm a former professional dance competitor, and to build strength, we would work out. So as I pushed myself to run longer and run faster and lift heavier and stretch more deeply, I realized that when I felt like I was going to break, I was only really at about 50% capacity. So I would encourage you that when you feel like you're hitting a limit, to remember that's just a feeling, and you're probably only at about 50% of what you can actually do. Oxford changed me because I had so many new and challenging experiences. So if you are just starting the MBA or you're going through the application process, I hope these lessons help you navigate it with a little bit more confidence and a little less stress. Let me know in the comments which of these surprised you, if any. And if you're a fellow Oxonian, what did you wish you would have known before starting your program? If you found this helpful, then please hit like and subscribe for more content on top business schools and graduate admissions. If you're curious about applying to Oxford, then check out the resources that I've linked to below. I hope they're helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.